Hey everyone, it's Greg. Another episode of Unbreakable Spirits. This is our Saturday sports show. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to wrap up the week in Philadelphia sports and we're going to look forward to the upcoming week. Well, what a busy weekend, huh? We thought it was going to be a really great weekend. We had the anti-Boston weekend there with the Phillies playing the Red Sox and the Sixers playing the Celtics. And it didn't start off too well. The Both the Phillies lost and the Sixers lost last night. So Boston is up 2-0 on the weekend. And we're going to break that down a little bit. Before we do, let's talk about what a weird start to the weekend, too. I mean, in the first inning at Citizens Bank Park, one of the fans was reaching for a ball. The fan standing over the visiting bullpen in the outfield. And I've been there many times, and it's quite a drop. Well, they've never had any accidents at Citizens Bank Park since it's been open, and but last night there was one. Apparently, one of the Red Sox pitchers threw a fan a ball, which they often do, the opposing pitchers, when they're not getting harassed. They're throwing baseballs up to the fans, and the fans asked for a ball and said, throw me a ball, throw me a ball. So maybe the Red Sox pitcher was just being a nice guy and throwing the ball. Well, apparently the ball landed in the flower box and the fan was reaching for the ball and he apparently flipped over or tumbled over the railing into the bullpen, crashed right into the bullpen. Well, that was a scary moment. The EMTs rushed out to the outfield, paramedics. Apparently they cleaned the blood off of the concrete in the bullpen. It was a guy with a Phillies jersey on, and the preliminary reports were that he was really badly bruised, and he was moving all of his extremities, so luckily he didn't break his back or anything like that. I think he lost the best of his face pretty well, though. But maybe we'll hear more about his condition today and the reasons why he flipped over into the bullpen. But that was a really strange way to start the weekend off. And well, let's talk about the Phillies first, and then we're really going to get into the 76ers. Phillies lost again last night. That is loss number 5 in a row for the Phils. They lost to the Red Sox 5-3. And really, the two big things about the Phillies these days, and they're back under 500 again, is number one, they just don't have enough pitching. And unfortunately, this was the GM's fault at the beginning of the year. He did get enough pitching for this team. It's great that they went out and they signed Trey Turner, who had started off very slowly, but apparently, I think Trey Turner's going to be okay. He's got enough of a past that I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to have a good year. What I do worry about is the pitching. Now let's look at it. Ranger Suarez is supposed to come back from his rehab assignment tomorrow. He pitches again in the minor leagues. If he's okay, he will join the team next week. But I'm concerned about the big two, Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. My feeling is, and the velocity is down with one, both, especially Nola, is that they pitched deep into the postseason last year, which was great. The Phillies made the World Series. That's what you want to do. These guys really didn't have a lot of rest over the winter, and now they're really, with all the injuries in the pitching staff, they've been asked to even do more. And are they tired? Do they have arm problems? I think they're fatigued, believe it or not. The year just started, but I mean, the way they're pitching is they just run out of gas. And you get up to maybe the 4th, 5th inning, and then they hit a wall. Now, Aaron Nola, I can see, he's always been a warm weather pitcher, hot weather pitcher. He loves the humidity and the heat. He's from Louisiana. He's used to the murky, mucky buggies down there, and he pitches better when the weather gets warmer. So let's see what he does when we get into June and July. But Zach Wheeler, I'm a little bit concerned about him. If you recall, he had some arm issues at the end of last year, and where they actually had to shut him down for a little while. And you add to that the increased workload at the end of the year, and is that he wonder why these guys are struggling early this year? The Phillies are going nowhere if Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola are not themselves. They're going nowhere. Ranger Suarez isn't going to solve the problem. Neither is Andrew Painter if and when he gets healthy over the summer. So that's the bottom line. The other situation going on with the Phillies is the leadoff hitter. Kyle Schwarber may be a nice guy, but he cannot be the leadoff hitter. He's hitting 183, and he doesn't hit enough home runs. He doesn't walk enough to justify being in the leadoff spot. He strikes out way too much, and just because he wants to be the leadoff hitter, the manager is trying to appease him. You know, the manager needs to take a stand and say, look, who's the boss here? Who's the manager? You know, I know you want to be the leadoff hitter. It's just not the right spot for us. It worked last year, but we have different options this year. Bryson Stott, the young shortstop, was doing well in the leadoff spot. Why not keep him there? Trey Turner started off as the leadoff hitter when the year began. He did not succeed, but I would rather see Trey Turner in the leadoff spot. I'd rather see Trey Turner get 5 at-bats a game. Yes, Trey Turner is not playing well. He's striking out as well, but I just don't like Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. I think he should be hitting down in the order, where if he hits a home run, he's going to drive in some freaking runs. Think about it. He hit 46 home runs last year, and he didn't even hit 100 RBIs. Why? Because guys weren't on base in front of him, and he hit leadoff most of the year. That's a problem. I think manager is too much into analytics, and the analytic people are saying you got to hit Schwarber first. Walks and home runs, walks and home runs. That's big in analytics. I think sometimes you have to trust what you see. Hello there, bud. And we see that Kyle Schwarber is hitting 183 and striking out a ton and is not getting the job done in the number 1 spot. Phillies are also playing some better teams now. They got swept in LA by the Dodgers. They're playing the Red Sox now, who have been hot coming into town. And they're going to be playing good teams. It is what it is. I mean, the Phillies struggled out of the gate playing teams like Cincinnati and Miami and Colorado. They didn't make their hay then, and now they're playing better teams. I don't know. I haven't given up hope. It's too early. It's only May 6th. Anything can happen. But I tell you what, this team really misses Rhys Hoskins. They miss his home runs. They miss his doubles. They miss his timely hitting. Yes, Rhys Hoskins was a streaky hitter, and he had his defensive liabilities, but he added a force in the middle of that lineup. He made everybody around him better. You had to respect Rhys Hoskins because he had the potential to hit a home run at any at-bat. And that's a big loss, and he's not coming back. So Phillies are going to have to work it out. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're just going to have to figure it out. So that's the Phillies. And they got off to a bad start with the Red Sox. And then we go across the street, and we have the Sixers. Well, entering into the game last night, the series with the Boston Celtics was tied 1-1, coming back to Philly for 2 games. And before the night started, I said, well, I think they're going to split. I really thought they were going to win last night. They didn't. I was wrong. But I thought they were going to split and go back to Boston for game 5, which I think is the pivotal game of the series. Whoever wins game 5 is going to win the series. Well, the night started off, first of all, it was PJ Tucker's birthday. And usually athletes play better on their birthdays, no matter what the sport is. And wouldn't you know it, PJ Tucker had 3 3-pointers last night. So that theory still holds up. Joel Embiid got his MVP trophy last night, and it was a special ceremony before the game. He was crying, especially when his little boy ran into the court, and Embiid scooped him up in his arms. And that was a pretty emotional, touching moment. And I really thought the Sixers would come out strong, especially after they lost by 34 points up in Boston the day before. I thought the Sixers would come out strong and just blow away the Celtics. The Celtics are a really good team. They hit their first 5 3-pointers. They got off to a 10-point lead in the first quarter. Granted, the Sixers ended the first quarter by actually winning the quarter by 1 point. But Boston's good. I mean, they have better shooters, they have better defenders, they're quicker. And the thing that disappointed me last night about the Sixers was the lack of effort. How can you get out hustled on your home court in a playoff game with 20,000 people in the stands? They're all pumped up after Embiid got his MVP trophy. We all knew what a big game it was last night. A big weekend with the arrival of Boston Celtics in town. After you get blown out, how could certain members of the 76ers go out there and really not hustle? I mean, it speaks a lot to either the players don't want it bad enough or the coach isn't really a motivator. Do you really have to motivate these players, professional players who are getting paid millions and millions of dollars? I mean, it goes without saying that these guys should be motivated enough to know they're playing at home in front of their home crowd, and it's a playoff game. This is what they've worked for all year long to get into this position. They had home court advantage after winning game 1 in Boston. You would have thought they would have came out with more effort. But it didn't happen. Joel Embiid played better. He scored 30 points. But the players around him just didn't step it up. Let's go down the list. James Harden had a terrible, horrendous game. He played bad on the offensive end. He was terrible on defense. He committed 5 turnovers. He was just atrocious. And this is the James Harden that you want to sign for a max contract with extra years? No thanks. Let James Harden go to Houston. He's a shell of himself. He may have a good game here and there. Like he did in game 1, he had 45 points. That was the game that Embiid did not play, and somebody had to step up and score the points. And to his credit, Harden did. Last night, though, he was just terrible. He threw the ball around. He didn't hustle down court on defense. He even looked very tentative and indecisive when he was driving the lane. Wide open for shots, didn't take them, threw the ball all over the place. It's just a terrible, terrible effort by James Harden. Then we have Tobias Harris, who has to be the biggest waste of time in Philadelphia sports history. This guy signed for a max contract, and he's a no-show. I mean, if anything, this was the game when he needed to step up and give the Sixers his average, which is about 15, 16 points. He didn't. He closed with 7 points. He had 5 fouls, almost had as many fouls as points last night. Just no impact at all. He was just, Tobias Harris is just the nobody. I mean, the Sixers have made a lot of mistakes. in their history, especially within the last 10 years. I mean, they let Jimmy Butler go instead of Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. They traded Mikal Bridges on draft day. And another big mistake was giving Tobias Harris a max contract. It's just crazy money that they threw away. Tobias Harris is not worth it. Now you can't get rid of the guy because who's going to want to take him with that contract? Daryl Morey traded away our first round draft picks when he traded for his buddy James Harden. So you can't even package a deal to get Tobias Harris out of town. You're kind of stuck with him for a couple more years. But he was a no-show. And then you had Tyrese Maxey, who should have played better. But when he had the ball in his hands, he looked scared. It looked like he wasn't ready for the big moment. He was tentative, afraid to shoot. He came out in the second half shooting, and he had 2 3-pointers early in the second half. And he thought, okay, here he goes. He's going to take off. Every time the Sixers made a run at the Celtics, and the Celtics were ahead by as many as 16, 18 points in the second half. Whenever the Sixers would make a run, James Harden would do something stupid to stop the momentum. He'd suck the air out of the crowd. He called for the ball. I remember one point in the second half, the Sixers were getting down by 2. Maxey was making his shots. He was providing speed, life to the team. The ball was moving around. James Harden was dominating the ball like he does, dribble, dribble, dribble. The Sixers show was showing a little life. All of a sudden, James Harden is calling for the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Well, stupidly, Maxey gives him the ball. Harden either misses a shot, commits a turnover, throws the ball away. And that's where I blame Rivers, the head coach. He needs to put his foot down and say, no, the ball is not going through James Harden. I don't care if he led the league in assists or not. This team is not winning with James Harden in control. Tyrese Maxey is not a point guard. The one thing that the Sixers lack, which they should look for in the offseason, is a true point guard. Maxey could be the off guard, but Maxey, at least when he does have the ball in his hands, he can make a play. A lot of times, James Harden brings the ball up very slowly, on a fast break, slows the ball down, no pace at all. The ball never sees Maxey's hands. Well, anyway, while they were making this run, only down by 2 points, second half, the momentum stops because Harden makes a mistake. And all of a sudden, the lead is back up to 10 points for the Celtics. The Sixer team, there's just something missing about them, and I blame the general manager. They're just not good at it. Now, I do expect them to win tomorrow, Sunday, because they have to win. If they lose, they go down 3-1 and they go back to Boston. I wouldn't be surprised in that scenario if Boston closes the series out in Game 5. So if the Sixers have any shot at all, they have to win tomorrow, Game 4 at home, tie the series, send it back to Boston 2-2. It's the only way they're going to have a chance. If they don't win tomorrow, think about what can happen with this franchise. It's another year that Doc Rivers does not get out of the second round. Are you going to keep him? I mean, you're not improving. I don't care what record they have in the regular season. The regular season is meaningless. It's what are you doing in playoffs? How close are you coming to winning a championship? And the Sixers are in quicksand right now. They look sluggish and old and slow, and a lot of it goes back to James Harden. Yes, Joel Embiid is the MVP, but he also is a turnover machine. He holds the ball too long. there's got to be a better. That's what. There's got to be a better. And if you get an energetic coach in here who is going to lay down the law with these players, maybe they need a fresh voice, a fresh attitude. It's not going to hurt because what they're doing now with Rivers is not working. So if the Sixers lose this series, I don't expect Doc Rivers to be back. I expect there to be changes of the roster. How much, I don't know, because Daryl Morey, the general manager, has boxed himself in as far as making trades and signing free agents. So what could they do, right? Unless they really tear it down and trade the MVP. Now, what would they get back for Embiid at this point in his career? He is still the MVP, and he's a very good player. But what are you going to get back from Embiid at this point? I don't know. Can you win without Embiid? Embiid? I don't know. I mean, look at what Utah did. They started trading all their stars, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and they're in a rebuilding mode out there. But they have hope. They have some good young players. They have a boatload of draft picks. They have hope. Sixers really don't have hope. I mean, you can almost say it's win this year or bust because Embiid is in the prime of his career, and Harden is definitely on the downside of his career, and it's win now for the Sixers, and unless they win tomorrow and turn this series around, it's not happening. It's not happening. So they're very frustrating. Let's see what they do. I mean, the bottom line is, I hate to say it, but the Boston Celtics are a deeper team and they're a better team. I think Boston took the Sixers lightly in game one when they did not have Embiid on the court, and Boston just didn't come to play. Well, Boston came to play in game two and game three. And we'll see what they do tomorrow. As far as the rest of the playoffs are concerned, the Heat and the Knicks play game three of their series today. Series is tied 1-1, and now they play the next two games in Miami. And it'll be interesting to see how Jimmy Butler is. If we know Jimmy Butler, if he is able to walk, he's going to play. How effective he will be, I don't know, from that sprained ankle, but we'll see. I still like the Heat in that series. I think the Heat come out and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Out west, we see that Denver is still up 2-1 to Phoenix Suns. The Suns more or less saved their season last night by winning game 3 in Phoenix. What a game, huh? Nikola Jokic had a triple-double, 30 points, 17 rebounds, 17 assists. The guy's a heck of a player. And Denver lost, but you can't blame Jokic for that loss. Hey, Phoenix played hard. They had to win the game last night. Devin Booker had 47 points. Kevin Durant, third game, big tip. It'll be interesting to see what they do tomorrow night in game 4, also in Phoenix. Another must win for the Suns. I think Denver eventually gets out of that series alive. The other series is the Lakers and the Warriors. And I don't know how they're going to do it. I still think the Warriors are going to win that series. It's a 1-1. Now the series goes back to LA. You'll see the Warriors have been a bad road team all along, but they did step up when they had to in Sacramento to win that game, to win game 5 and game 7. So don't count the Warriors out with their experience. Never count the Warriors out. So I still think Golden State's going to win that. And it's going to be a Denver Golden State finals in the Western Conference. So I think that's the way it's going to go. The Eagles, well, they're just doing mini camp right now. The post-draft camp, they have a few players in camp who they signed as free agents who weren't drafted. So really, things are kind of on hold right now until mini camp starts. We could still look for possibly more free agent signings, trades. What I'm looking forward to is the schedule comes out this week, the NFL schedule on Thursday. That's always a fun time because we know who's playing who. We know who the Eagles are playing this season. We just don't know when they're playing. When they're playing the schedule out there. It'll be interesting. They do go to Kansas City to play the Chiefs in a rematch of the Super Bowl. Will that be the first game of the season? How many times will the Eagles be in prime time? I imagine a lot because the Eagles are the champs of the NFC. We're still going to have a really good team this year. I can imagine the Eagles are going to be on Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night football a lot this year. So that'll be fun. Personally, for me, that's always a good day because if I can get tickets to at least 1 or 2 games, I try to. And I like to go early in the season when it's not too cold. I love the 1 o'clock Sunday games. You go during the day, you're home by 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's not too cold, even in November and December. So we'll see what happens. So that's about it for sports this weekend. Phillies play tonight again. They play the Red Sox. Let's hope that they get their act together and turn things around. I don't know what it's going to take. It's gonna, let's see when Schwarber, Turner start hitting. I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling with this team. I'm sorry. It's not like last year. The manager seems disorganized and confused. It seems like he's making all the wrong moves. The players aren't playing fundamentally right. They're making stupid mistakes on the bases. The defense has let them down recently. They still strike out too much. It seems like analytics is creeping its way back into this team, starting with the manager. Yeah, one thing I'll say about last season after Thompson took over, even though he's a disciple of Joe Girardi, and never forget that. It seemed like he was straying away from the analytics. Girardi was all analytics. Everything was by the book. You would see it in the dugout, and he would always have his head down, reading a stupid book. And that was full of numbers and statistics and analytics. Thompson sort of went against that last year, and he had success. He took the Phillies to the playoffs for the first time since 2012, and eventually to the World Series. But this year, it seems like in his decisions, analytics are creeping back into Thompson's game plan. Is that him, or is that the front office telling him that he needs to do more analytics? Let's hope not. Analytics has its place in the game. It's always going to be there. But for me, you always have to trust your eyes. And the common sense. Again, with the guy like Schwarber, you don't keep him in the leadoff spot if he's not produced, just because he wants to do it. So let's see what happens. The thing that we always have to keep in mind about Phillies and Thompson is he was a disciple of Joe Girardi for a long time with the Yankees. Joe Girardi's right-hand man. And so I don't think it's that easy just to forget the analytics and everything that Joe Girardi was doing. We saw that coming out of spring training this year. The team did not look prepared. Their fundamentals were lacking. They just didn't look like they were ready to come north and play baseball. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Thompson is not into analytics like I think he is. Let's hope that because of the injuries, some bad luck, that the team has gotten off to a bad start, and they'll come around like they did last year once the weather starts to get warmer. I hope so. And as far as the Sixers are concerned, game 4 is tomorrow at 3:30 from Philly. Let's see if the Sixers can win tomorrow and tie the series up. Then it's a best out of 3 series with 2 of the 3 games being up in Boston. The Sixers have won up there before. They could do it again. It's going to be a tough task. Got to take it one game at a time. They got to win tomorrow. I think somehow, some way, they will win too. So we will talk to you about sports again next week. And everybody enjoy the weekend. And I'll have another episode with my Unbreakable Spirits show soon. Monday, I go into the hospital for a procedure. Please wish me luck, say a few prayers. I'm sure I'll be okay. So hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, we'll get back in the groove and we'll have some more Unbreakable Spirits for you to share a little hope and a little inspiration. So take care, everyone. Enjoy the games this weekend, and I'll talk to you. Bye.